Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. And today I'm doing this kind of new series of videos called Best Movie of Every Year That I've Been Alive. Kind of a long title. But I came up with this idea from another YouTuber named Elliot, who has a YouTube channel called IMO Reviews. And I just discovered his channel not too long ago. Really great channel where a guy from England named Elliot reviews movies, current movies that are coming out and are on streaming channels and TV shows. And he does reviews, and really good reviewer. And I've talked to him a couple times. Really nice guy. Really enjoy his videos and commenting on them. So he did this on his channel a while ago, maybe. Where he went through all the movies. He went year by year, every year that he's alive, and talked about what was his favorite movie of that year, which I thought was an interesting idea and something I thought I'd like to do. I've heard other people doing this too, so it's not the first time I've heard that idea, and I always thought that was an intriguing idea and something I was interested in doing at some point. Interesting exercise and deciphering each year what is your favorite movie of that year. I have to say though, when I'm coming up with movies, my favorite movies of each year, like I look at what movies I own and that I want to buy. I kind of have a list of movies, my favorite movies, and I kind of go through what I already have down as my favorite movies. And I kind of looked at my Letterboxd app and looked at I list all the movies that I've done reviews of, and of course, and I looked at what year they came out. So that was a pretty easy indicator of like where was my favorite movie that year's, looking at what year, what movie is the highest of that year. And then I also just Google searched what are the top movies of whatever year, and just kind of looked through what Google came up with are the most popular movies, kind of put down what movies might be in contention of each year. Some years it's easy. Once I saw a movie, I was like, okay, this is my favorite movie that year. There's not going to be a movie that's going to beat that. Anyway, so that's why I kind of came up. So I took a little time doing research, trying to make sure I come up with the best possible. Try not to forget any movie. It's easy to make a list and then forget a movie. So hopefully I didn't forget anything. And coming up with the list, I kind of come up with this. I'm coming up with my favorite movies of that year is the movie that I like to watch over and over again, that I've watched many times, movies that I own or that I watch on streaming. And so there's some movies that I think are good movies, but I don't like to watch them because they're maybe disturbing in nature, maybe a little gruesome, a little violent. Stuff like that, a little too dark. If it's a dark movie, I don't continue like to watch dark material. I like to watch more lighthearted material. It's a little more, easier to consume. And when it's a darker movie, I always like look at it and go, oh man, I need to watch this movie, but I'm not in the mood to watch a dark movie. And so I kind of put it off to the side, and then it just sits there for a long time. So these are definitely movies that maybe aren't like the best well-made. You wouldn't think these are the best well-made movies of the year, best critical favorites of the year, but it's more of just these are the movies that I know that I really enjoy watching over and over again. And so, and knowing my taste of movies, you have to know that I do like more lighthearted movies. I don't have a lot of rated R movies in my list, like probably a lot of people would have. I do like, I like anything from action, comedy, drama. I don't like horror movies at all, so there's no horror movies really on my list. And I like animated movies, I like musicals, so you're gonna see a lot of those kind of movies on my list anyway. So just to prefer, because you're gonna say, how could you put this movie on the list? And I'll go, I know there's probably a movie that people think is better, and maybe it's a better made movie, but this is the kind of movie that I love to watch anyway. So that's kind of how it goes down to. So I was born in 1983. I'm 38 at the moment. Be 39 in like a month or so. Getting close to a month until I'm 39. So starting in 1983 when I was just a little baby being born. And the first movie on my list from 1983, my favorite movie of that year, is Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Here's my trilogy Star Wars Blu-ray. The last movie of the first Star Wars trilogy, ended on the year I was born, so I got to be alive when Star Wars was out in movie theaters, which is kind of cool. I always think of Star Wars happening such a long time ago, and then I realized, oh, I was alive for the first one, or the third one probably. I mean, I was born in the summer, so I'm sure Return of the Jedi came out probably during the summer, maybe. So maybe I was around at that time, or at least was in my mom's stomach at the time. But Star Wars Return of the Jedi is somewhat of an underrated movie to me. If you say what's the best Star Wars movie, I mean, everybody is going to say Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. That's usually the popular choice. But I'm unusual maybe, and I say my favorite Star Wars movie is actually the third one, Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, of the original trilogy. I know a lot of criticism is Ewoks. People hate the Ewoks. I don't hate the Ewoks so much. I kind of understand the criticism of the Ewoks. They're not real needed in the story. I could do without them, but it doesn't kill the movie for me. What I love about this movie so much, of course, it's the third movie in a trilogy, so it really concludes the trilogy, and I think it's a great conclusion to the trilogy, and one of the greatest trilogies of all time. And it's a great arc from the first movie to the third one, where we find Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, and we find out, spoilers, that Darth Vader is Anakin Skywalker, Luke's dad. And then we get to the third one, where all the time we think Darth Vader is just this ultimate evil that needs to be defeated, to where Luke wants to turn his father to the good side, which is such an interesting concept. And I love that idea that he loves his father so much that he's going to risk his own life to hopefully turn him to the good side before he dies anyways. And I love that dynamic and I love that final, it's got such a great climax to the movie with the 3 action scenes edited all together. It's so amazingly done. And I love the Luke Skywalker Darth Vader fight scene, and then Emperor Palpatine coming in, and what happens there, and the finality of like what happens, how Luke defeats the Empire, and it's, like I said, it's such a great finality to this trilogy. The Empire gets defeated, Emperor Palpatine gets killed, and we finally get, freedom, I guess, from the Empire, the rebels and everything. And so I just love it because of that, and the whole emotional aspect of the father-son dynamic. I really enjoy it, plus the action. Plus, I love the beginning part with Jabba the Hutt and the whole action scene with the Sarlacc pit, whatever, and them escaping that is a great beginning to the movie, and then to the end. So many great action sequences. Anyway, so yeah, I absolutely love this movie. Plus, you get Princess Leia in a golden bikini, which doesn't hurt. One of the most iconic costumes, I think, of all time. And then the end where Luke looks off to the distance and sees his father is a Jedi ghost standing alongside Yoda and Obi-Wan. I mean, it's most iconic characters of the Star Wars universe. Such a great scene, and that really concludes that and brings closure to that storyline. It makes you just feel so happy at the end. Anyways, that's why I got Star Wars Return of the Jedi, favorite movie in 1983. 1984, I have The Karate Kid. Came out in 1984. Great story of Daniel, who's doesn't have a father, who's getting bullied at school, who needs like a male role model in his life to help him with this issue. And he finds out in Mr. Miyagi, who's this maintenance guy at the apartments, who also has this really well knowledge of karate, is a good karate expert and teacher, and him teaching him karate so he can fight back against his bullies, basically, and defend himself and all that. And also, I love that it's this great father-son dynamic where Daniel needs a father figure and finds it in Mr. Miyagi, this old middle-aged Japanese guy, unlikely duo. It works so well. And Mr. Miyagi himself kind of needs he's kind of missing that son in his life. When he realized that karate is this thing that's passed down from generation to generation in his family, where his grandfather taught karate to his father teaches karate to him, and he doesn't have a son to teach karate to. So it kind of, this tradition in his family is broken because he doesn't have somebody. And Daniel comes along, and Daniel becomes that son he never had, that he gets to teach his family legacy to, this karate to. And so it's really nice that he gets to do, Daniel provides that for him. He provides the father figure for Daniel. And such a great relationship. Mr. Miyagi is one of my favorite characters of all time. Such a cool character. I love Mr. Miyagi, and done so well by Pat Morita in the role. And yeah, I'd say the karate choreography is nothing special. It's not the greatest choreography. Daniel always looks awkward when he's fighting. Unlike Johnny, he looks really great when he's in fighting scenes, but Daniel's never looked great, but they make it work at the end when he wins the All Valley tournament. And that look in Mr. Miyagi's proud face just makes me so joyous, I guess, and that's what I love about the film. And so many iconic scenes, of course, the wax on, wax off scene, so great. The crane kick, love it all. Anyway, so that's Karate Kid, favorite movie in 1984. 1985, one of my favorite movies of all time is Back to the Future, the first movie, 1985. One of the best concepts I've ever seen in a movie, and best written movies ever. The whole idea of going back in time, seeing your parents as teenagers and getting to witness what they were actually like, which is different than what they tell you they're like. And you see them and you realize, like, oh, my parents were like, either geeks or were, rebels or something different than what you had in your mind. It's very interesting because I think we all think of our parents as never being teenagers. It's hard to imagine, mom and dad being like me when I was a teenager, which was a while ago as well. But to think that they had the same ideas and thoughts and, urges and ideas and all that, and trying to make their way in the world, your parents were always just your parents. They're always older than you. And so I love the idea of going back and seeing your parents in high school. Great concept. And then the whole idea that he might not exist because what he does, his parents might not get together and he might not exist. So the race against time of having to get his parents back together before the lightning strikes and he can go back to regular 1985 time. Such a great idea. And I love all that. It's a really funny movie, along with the great time travel. I love the sci-fi of it. And then I love the great relationship between Michael J. Fox's character and Doc, Christopher Lloyd's character. Really kind of a great friendship one of my favorite friendships in all movies, I'd say. And they have a great dynamic, and they're really great together. Anyways, and I enjoy that, their chemistry. Anyways, and just a great musical score and just a really great ending, emotional ending to it that I really like. And just one of my favorite endings of all time, I would say, on how everything conspires. Anyway, so that's Back to the Future. Favorite movie in 1985. Favorite movie in 1986. I'd say my second favorite Star Trek movie, Star Trek: The Voyage Home. This is the fourth in the 6 movies that the original cast made. There were Kirk and Spock, and you see Mr. McCoy there. Directed by Mr. Spock himself, Leonard Nimoy. Second movie that he directed in the series after the third one. This is my favorite movie of the original Star Trek crew of those 6 movies. Absolutely love this movie. Really well written, really great idea. Again, it's another time travel. I love time travel type concepts. This is another one where they kind of travel back, or maybe not travel back in time. They travel to America. I guess they travel back in time, and they have to find 2 whales, and in order to, it's a very complicated storyline, but they have to get 2 humpback whales, anyways. Or this alien species is going to destroy their planet. Anyway, so there's this fish out of water. Everybody's in San Francisco, I guess in the 80s, and they don't understand 80s technology. And so I love that each crew member gets their own great scene, gets funny scenes. They get their own missions that they have to accomplish to get these humpback whales, and plus they need to get some nuclear energy, I believe, to get the spaceship going, and they have to get something to put water in, so they put the humpback whales into this tank of water, and so they have all these things they have to get accomplished. Um, it's, I think, one of the most, probably the most humorous of the Star Trek movies, which I really like. Especially love, of course, Kirk and Spock together, always so great, and them going around San Francisco trying to understand the culture, and Spock saying stuff like, you know, I see they cuss a lot. What is the purpose of cursing? You know, and trying to analyze why these Americans are cursing so much. Anyways, a lot of funny stuff like that. And then it's just a great, like, against another kind of race against time, because they need to get them in a certain amount of time, and then something else goes wrong and they have to go do that. And it seems like every time they get something accomplished, something else goes wrong. Even after they get the whales, go back in time, there's another problem. The ship is like going underwater, and they need to release the whales before the aliens destroy their planet. Anyway, so it puts you on edge a little bit, tensity, trying to get everything done, which I really enjoy. Really makes you interested in the storyline. Yeah, so if you're a Star Trek fan, I think this is one of the best. Anyways, so what, the 87? I don't have the movie for this one, and Rich won't be too happy about this if he's watching this. My favorite movie of 1987 is The Princess Bride, which is a very fun, adventurous comedy, action adventure, I guess, fantasy movie somewhat. And it's funny, like I said, I know Rich Strickler on his channel, they talked about like overrated movies, I think, and this was like up there as like one of the most overrated movies for him, and Doc and Brian were on there. I think they agreed. And of course I'm like, man, I love that movie. And I think if I talk to my parents' generation, they don't care about that movie so much. But when you talk to people in my generation, we love that movie. Almost everybody I talk to loves that movie. I think it has a good spot in all our hearts. Like I said, it's just it's got everything. I said the action's really well done. It's just great. One of the best sword fight scenes between Inigo Montoya and Wesley that I always love. I'm forgetting the name of the guy who played Inigo Montoya. Gives such a great performance. I think should have won an Oscar for that role, at least be nominated. Has that famous, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepared to die. Great line. A lot of great lines in there. Great cast. Like I said, Cary Elwes, whatever his name is, as Wesley. Does a good job, I think, there. Robin Wright, great as the young Robin Wright as the Princess Buttercup. We get Andre the Giant, very charming in his role. Wallace Shawn comes in for a short period of time. It's so hilarious. Has so many great, inconceivable, kind of lines, and has so many great lines in it. Love his whole scenes. You got Billy Crystal has a small part as Max the miracle worker, and have fun storming the castle. And Billy Crystal is so funny in that role. And such a small part, but that's what I love about it. Everybody does such a good part in small roles, big roles. I think that's about all the big cast members on there, but everybody does great. Just a fun movie. It's got a great adventure feel to it that I really love. And like I said, it's not like a dark, serious, Oscar movie, but it's just a fun movie that I love to pop on every once in a while, or I see on streaming, I'll watch. And just love quoting all the big quotes of the movie, and it just has a great fairy tale feeling at the end, and has a very happy ending. Great musical score, I think. Anyway, so yeah, so I won't back down. I love Princess Bride, 1987. So favorite movie of 1988, Best Picture winner of that year. I don't think I've gotten to one yet, but this is Rain Man, there with Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman. Tell a story of Tom Cruise's Charlie Babbitt. Dad dies, and then he finds out that all his like money and stuff goes to his older brother Raymond, who he didn't know he had an older brother, played by Dustin Hoffman, who's autistic, and gives one of the best performances I've ever seen of someone with autism who has a hard time, can't change. He has a certain routine, and when someone autism changes routine, they go kind of crazy sometimes, and certain things can trigger them. They're socially awkward, of course. Uh, Anyways, he portrays that all really great. And the movie's about this brothers that don't know each other, and especially Tom's character Charlie, who hates doesn't hate his brother, but doesn't really like his brother that much. Can't really stand his autism. But then during the course of the movie, you find that he becomes, of course, attached to his brother, and he loves his brother. And at the end, he gives his brother back, and wants to see him and wants to be part of his life. And so there's a great friendship that develops there between the two brothers that is really the core of the movie that I really like. Of course, famous scenes like going to the casino and counting cards and all that, and great lines of Kmart sucks and Whopper, definitely Whopper or something like that, Judge Whopper. And he's got a lot of iconic lines there, Dustin Hoffman. Anyway, so yeah, it's a pretty feel-good movie of two brothers kind of rekindling a friendship. Anyway, so really good movie, Rain Man. Favorite movie in 1988. So last movie, favorite movie of 1989. I guess I should have said I'm only going to cover the 80s movies in this video, and then I'll do the 90s and so on in the next videos till I get to the current date. Anyway, so I'm just to make this a little shorter, I'm just covering all the movies of the 80s that I was alive for. So the last movie, 1989, favorite movie is actually Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. There with Harrison Ford and Sean Connery playing Indy's dad. Love the Indiana Jones movies, kind of. I would say the first and third one I really love. Second one and fourth one I'm not so crazy about. But obviously Steven Spielberg makes a case for himself being, like, I would say, the greatest action director, maybe greatest action thriller director. He's great at action sequences and editing them together to make amazing scenes and iconic scenes. And Indiana Jones, of course, is a great adventure movie. It's one of the best action adventures franchises we've had. I believe a fifth one's coming out at some point. They're working on a fifth one somehow. I don't know how that's going to work, but I love Harrison Ford is so good as the Indiana Jones character. He's got he's heroic, kind of. He's cool looking. He's got the great outfit and the whip. He's also humorous, and he's super smart. So it's just a great character, interesting character. And Harrison Ford's such a good actor. I love him. One of my favorite actors there. Does such a good part in this role. And I love the third one. This is another one where, if you say what's the best Indiana Jones movie, you'll probably get the first one, Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is another really good movie. Came out in 1981, I believe, before I was born, so it's not on my list here. But this one's actually the third one. Did I say The Last Crusade? Yeah. Is actually my favorite Indiana Jones movie, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's like almost probably not quite top 10, probably top 15 favorite movie all time. Just as far as a movie that has great action and great action sets and great ending to it. And I think what I love most about this one and why it's my favorite Indiana Jones movie, it's probably the most humorous one out of them. I think it's a very funny movie, along with the great action sequences. I love the first scene is when Indiana Jones is a kid, and then we go to him on a boat, and he's getting this artifact. Great sequence there, and the way it cuts together. Absolutely love that. And then my favorite scene is probably where his father is in a tank, and he's trying to get to the tank on a horseback, and he's being shot at, and he gets to get on the tank, and he has to fight this guy and get his father, and then the tank goes off a cliff. I mean, that whole sequence it's one of the best action sequences ever. It's edited so marvelously, and then the way the music comes in. I love the music, of course, by John Williams, so great. All that works so well. And of course, in the very end, is the whole go and get the Holy Grail. and all that, and you chose poorly, and that whole scene I love. And what I love about it, I was going to say, is the dynamic between Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones, Sean Connery, his dad, and that they have this estranged relationship, and during the movie they kind of come closer together. So that adds something different than the other Indiana Jones movies. That adds this more emotional core to it between the two. And of course, Sean Connery is so great as the father, and they're so different than each other. While while they're both very smart archaeologists, they don't get along very well. While Sean Connery's character is not very action adventurous, while Indiana Jones Jr., I guess, or whatever, or he calls him Junior. He's, of course, shoots people and has the whip, and he fist fights, and he does all this crazy stuff that his father's more of an academic than he is. And so I love that whole chemistry between them, the different personalities, and of course, and then you got the whole history behind them, that he wasn't there for Indiana Jones or something like that. He was kind of off doing his studies and researches and stuff like that, and so they didn't have a good relationship. But by the end, there's a great emotional scene of them coming together, and it ends, like I said, so great. And I just love the two together, and I love Sean Connery's a great actor too. So anyways, that's what makes it go over the top for me, is one of my favorite movies, and favorite Indiana Jones movies, and favorite movie of 1989. So that's my favorite movie each year, the 80s, and I'll continue on to the 90s the next video. And so just feel free to comment. What do you think about these movies? Where am I wrong? What are the better movies I'm probably overlooking? I'm sure there are. Or what movies you think are really good movies that I mentioned, or what is your favorite out of those? Yeah, feel free to comment. Love to read them, see them, what you think. And thank you for watching the video and liking it. And thank you to all of the subscribers for supporting the channel. I appreciate you all, and I hope you have a good day.